Hello and welcome to today's video. Today a short Inky Minutes review and this is an Endless Alchemy ink and it is Raven Blue. This is a very cool blue-black. It's quite dark, it's got lots of sort of grey undertones, almost sort of purpley grey undertones, a bit of sort of copper sheen there and it looks really great here on the colouring card. So today we're going to look at it on a few different kinds of paper and I'll show some colour comparisons and give you a few thoughts. Firstly, this is how the ink comes packaged, is sort of like almost iridescent-y kind of holographic sort of box, which is really hard to film. And then the ink in here comes sitting in nice bits of foam. And here is the bottle it comes in. As you can see, Alchemy there. It's got a nice sort of cap on it. It's kind of got a fun sort of shape, this sort of little dome on the bottom. It says Endless Alchemy fountain pen inks designed in Madras there. And in the box also, as you can see, like it doesn't sit flat. You get this little cork base and it sits nicely in there for when you want to fill it, or if you wanted to, display it on your desk or something like that. It's a pretty nice glass 40ml bottle and I think it's a really nice ink. Okay, starting with it here on the old 52 GSM Tomoe River paper. You can see once again we're getting that nice copper sheen. When I did the little swatch to see sort of just to see how wet it was, you can see that's where we're getting the sort of the bluey greys. In writing, there is so much sheen on this ink, particularly on this paper, that we are getting like sheen on everything. I had this in the Endless Captiva fountain pen with a medium nib, just a plain steel nib. It's a finer medium and it writes obviously nice and wet, and on this paper it just sheens up so quickly. There's very little water resistance. We're leaving just a small mark behind, but generally speaking this is a fairly wet, highly concentrated ink, and that concentration really lends itself to the sheen. That's why it sheens so much. The higher the concentrate of ink and the more dye in the ink, as it dries on paper like this, it sort of settles on the top and you get a sheen out of it. This ink retails for $25 for that 40ml bottle. In Australia, from places like Pole Prediction, it's $39.95. Oh, so it's written here 45, maybe it's 45ml. If we look at the reverse of this page, none of the writing has come through. The writing has picked up shimmer from this ink on the other side of the page, but there's no sort of ink that is sort of bled through. There is some from the swatch, of course, but when we look at the actual writing, it all is very, very nice and tight. There's no feathering or anything like that. The ink behaves pretty well. Looking at it on some lower end paper now, this is super lightweight student notepad paper. The line still holds pretty tight. Like, we're getting a couple of little hits of feathering, but really it's looking okay, and we get a nice sort of rich dark blue black there. No sheen or anything like that, and the color is a little bit more even. We don't get a lot of shading from this ink even on the higher quality paper, simply because it is so heavily saturated. The reverse of that page, you see that it actually performs pretty well. If you look at some other inks on this page, that's doing a pretty decent job. I've certainly seen a heck of a lot worse. And now on the 80 GSM copy paper, this is reflex copy paper. You can see, once again, the lines are holding okay. There's a few spots of feathering, but nothing sort of too drastic. Once again, similar sorts of things with the color, looking nice and rich and dark, but no shading or sheen. And on the reverse, in comparison to some of those other inks, again, we see it performs pretty well. And now down here on the classic Rhodia, we see once again the water resistance. It moves a lot of that ink around. This is a very saturated ink. So when you put water on it, yes, it can soak up, particularly if you dab it on, with paper towel or something like that. But it does move a lot of the color around. It's super rich and dark. The sheen on this paper is a little more red than the copper that we had on the Tomoe River, but it's a nice sort of color, and the line is holding really nice and tight. Reverse of this, obviously nothing has come through. I'm really impressed with how this ink performs, particularly for such a highly concentrated ink. All right, time for the color comparison. Here is the Endless Alchemy Raven Blue on a coloring card. I've got just a few other blues to put it alongside here, just so to put it into the context of how sort of dark and grey the ink. Here is Diamine Oxford Blue, one of my absolute favourites, as well as Wearing All, the Phantom of the Opera, which is a lighter blue again, but with some nice dark red sheen. Then I've got a couple of blue blacks. So 1864 Blue Black, you see this is definitely on the greyer end. I've got Pilot Blue Black, so this is much, much darker. Pilot Blue Black is quite a light blue black, as is Iroshizuku Shinkai, which is basically, the blue black of the Iroshizuku setup. That and something like Tsukuyo, but Shinkai is just a little darker. Something that I thought it has some colours in common with, particularly like the mid-tones, is Mont Blanc Around the World in 80 Days Cold Blue. It's on that greyer end of the blue spectrum, but I think Raven Blue is a really nice colour. It's an ink I'm really enjoying using. Okay, so what are my thoughts about this very interesting dark blue, blue-black ink? Well, firstly, it is super dark. If you have it in a particularly wet pen, it looks almost black. It is that sort of darker blue, and I really like that. I really like how rich and dark this color is. I like the saturation of it a lot. It is safe for fountain pens and dip pens. So there's no shimmer, there's nothing sort of particularly adventurous. It's just a well-made ink that, is safe for use in your fountain pens. There is some sheen, obviously, but generally speaking, it's a pretty sort of solid, good quality ink that would work very well as an everyday writing ink or whatever you want to use it for. I love the packaging. I think firstly that sort of box, the way that they're printed on that box and all that kind of stuff is really nice. The bottle is beautiful, and having the cork stand, which also has the Endless logo on the back there, to sort of keep it upright, is a really, really nice touch. I think in terms of value, it is on the more expensive end. 45 mils for $40. There are certainly less expensive inks. I think something like, for example, we use Diamine, where you can get a 80 ml bottle for around 22 Australian dollars. Spending almost 40 Australian dollars for 45 mils does not make it a great value prospect, but it is an interesting ink and it's a lovely ink to use. And then the last thing I really like is I like the name. I like the fact that, Alchemy Inks kind of is playful and fun, but also Raven Blue with that darkness. It's got that sort of like brooding quality in the name, and that certainly comes out in the ink color itself. So this was Raven Blue from the Endless Alchemy ink line. I hope you found this video interesting and useful. Please like and subscribe, hit the notifications button, all that kind of stuff. A big thank you to Endless for their support of my channel and providing this ink and a range of other products over the years for me to review for you. If you've got products you think I should be looking at, or if there is a way you would like to support my channel, I would love to hear from you. In the meantime, enjoy your inks, enjoy writing, and I'll talk to you soon.